can say this, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. Um, and I am honored to be able to speak and share anything and everything. I've done a lot. Um, and my family's yeah, when I learned in ancestry of all the connects and all the sides and all the strangeness and just the social decline. So when you say, yeah, where did we lose the empathy? Yeah, it was long ago, I think. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Brenda. It's so great to have you here as well. And you were about to apologize for your macaw. Could you
Ah,
tell me like
I,
what's going on with
I
the
can
macaw?
I came outside because he's a rescue macaw. He was born in the 80s. The owner got him in the 80s, and she was a bartender, and the rule was to take your hat off when you sat at the bar. It's an old-timer rule we all go by. Somebody came in, refused, and he went running at them across the bar with his mouth open. So he was 86th. And
Oh
that's
my.
who's watching me from the window, so I apologize for any obscenities he may scream.
No worries. No worries. That's so amazing and unique. Well, I am really excited to learn about you, your story, the work that you've done. You have such a breadth of
Oh,
experience. So,
I
where do you want to start?
well, what would you like to know? I didn't realize that what I had to offer could help someone, and if that's the case, I will answer any question you ask me. I have worked in the mental health field since probably about 1982. And I worked my way up. I worked with every age from 3 months to in their 80s. And autism was most often adolescents with autism, children with autism. And so when I retired, I was working with adolescents who were in the system because of the cycle, the abuse they had, um, the trauma um, that they suffered, and how it affects you throughout your life. Even myself, when I began to see myself in my clients, it was time for me to look at myself. How can I help someone else when I can't address my own trauma? And another therapist had once told me, they had noticed that clients with trauma kind of stop at that year of trauma. And their comfort zone, like mine, is 1974. So music, when stressed, it'll be 1974, or I'll put on a movie from 1974, 5 or 6. Our place of when that trauma occurred, if we don't address it, and it's not that we need to bring it to the surface or address our, perpetrator or any such thing, but we have to, see how we react to that trauma. I have seen everything from someone to go on with their life and know that it wasn't them. It wasn't them. It's not their fault. And be a perfect, they're not perfect. None of us are. But to be able to enjoy the moments of their life without reliving and being afraid to go outside. And then I've seen one woman whose trauma was so severe at a 16-year-old age that she stopped at that year. She's now well into her 70s. But when I could see that in my clients, that's when I knew, boy, I needed to take care of myself and address my own darkness that I walked with. This morning I saw the greatest little writing. It said, we're not put here on earth to prove ourselves right. We're put here to carry the light so others might see it. And to me, that was like, golly, the wind wants to join the conversation. I'm going to have to turn this way. and and when you see this kind of in yourself, like, oh, wow, yeah, maybe I don't have to fight to prove what's right. I just need to carry a light for someone else that might have walked down that dark path. So there's a lot, you can see in others that really, brings out your own path, of what you need to address in yourself, what all need to see. Gosh, I'm kind of shaky. I get so emotional. Um, it could bring me to tears. So I separated myself from all people, and that was wrong. That's so wrong. So the veterans were the hardest to work with because they chose that, to separate themselves, to keep that door closed in their brain of memory of trauma. We can't open that. We can't let that person out. Yeah. We would destroy everything good in our life if we did. My goodness. It's the brain. Gosh, it can do some heavy things for you, positive and negative. I've seen so many positive things as well. The power of the mind, the power of faith in anything. And you have to have faith in something to carry you through that path, that darkness. So when I chose to become a light for anyone that wanted to walk down that same path that I did, oh yeah, I will do it. I know it's hard. I know you feel like you're in a hole and the light is so far up there, you just can't reach it. You just can't. It's too tired of it. I know. So to be there, to be that light for someone to say, hey, I can't fix this problem for you, but I can walk with you. I can walk with you. That's heavy. I had to see that in myself. We have to see that in ourselves. It's tough. I'm sorry, I get emotional.
No, don't apologize. That was a lot of. I mean, you've carried a torch and a light for other people for many, many years.
Thank
What
you.
What was the original reason? What drew you to working in mental health?
Well, when I was a kid, my cousins and I would just run around the streets crazy in Phoenix, Arizona, the southwest side of Buckeye. I loved it there. And my cousin Bobby, he was born with Down syndrome. And I think we went into a store one time when we were in New Mexico, and some old grouchy old timer said that you'd have to leave the retard outside. Can't trust them, they'll steal. And I thought, that's horrible. What is that? What is a retard, first of all? And I thought, oh, no, people need to know. And just because they're different, they look different, they act different, maybe they do things a little differently, but they still are a human being. You don't do that. But I was like 7. So I saw that. And I think we see that a lot. Others treated badly just because they don't fit in or they're embarrassing. Boy, the generations that, oh, we got to hide that person away. You don't want the public to know that we have a child that's not perfect. So then I went to work with children and babies when I was probably about 19. And I could see the social stigma. I could see when we would go to public places how it hadn't changed much from the time I was 7, the time I was 19. And it depends, the community, there's safety in numbers. as some of those clients would tell me. Depends on where we are, and we know, and you shouldn't have to be like that. So that drew me to mental health.
Was it in a therapist role, a counselor role? What did you start off doing with the children
At
and the
first,
infants?
I worked with, well, back in the 80s, you didn't have to have too much of a certification, but you had to have some experience. And the only experience I had was growing up with my cousin. And that was enough to get me into this one place that was wonderful. And they worked with autistic children. They worked with children who were born with something that would prevent them from normally just attending school or things. It was so severe. Uh, and then I went on from that. I went to juvenile detention and saw at that point, the cycle, the parents, the uneducation, the it's not their fault. Some of those kids were in there for stealing clothespins because they had to get the laundry done or their parents would be mad. So you see the other side. You see, you have to. Otherwise, how can you not? You couldn't understand their behavior. I mean, some of it was just survival. So it's interesting and sad, but you learn very quickly the inhumanity of humans.
And then from juvenile, so you're kind of almost working your way up in age,
Yeah.
right?
And then I went, yes. And then the adults in mental health, went back to mental health and worked with some of the adults that had PTSD from trauma, whether it was drug abuse, domestic violence, veterans. I worked with them in an art setting where they would, I was their art therapist in a way. They spent so many hours with me learning, taking some kind of art that would help them to vent, to push whatever, these thoughts in their heads, and they loved it. Painting, but I saw clay sculptures that were just very unique. PSA Art Awakenings in Tucson. They have so many wonderful people that this artwork is not just artwork. It is an artwork coming from an individual that has walked and may continue to walk such a dark path that they can't vocalize what they feel, to put a face on a feeling. We teach our children when they're little, the little pie face, like this is happy and this is angry and this is anxiety. Well, sometimes it's anger and anxiety, and sometimes it's sadness and anxiety. It's a combination, and they just, trauma. Once again, it rewires you. I learned that a daughter who or any child that does not receive from their mother or father a safe place, like this is my safe place, that's my safe person, I can go to them for anything. If we don't have that as an adult, that makes an imprint in us. We're constantly searching. Maybe this will be my best friend and I can share, or maybe that's going to be a good relationship and I can open up, I can talk. But it's something you have to learn. Oversharing, sometimes that's what we do. We try so hard to get someone to be our safe place. It's a work in progress.
We were one of our elders, actually, last night we were having a conversation with him, and we were talking about how they raise their children, actually with our elder Josaphat from the Mori tribe and also the Wiwa tribe. And one of our members was asking, well, I have a child that's misbehaving, and so, like, well, what do I do? And the elders really, they weren't on the same call, but they both gave the same answer, really, which is during child development, the parents set the model for how the child's nervous system and actions throughout life will be. Like that's the
Mhm.
foundation. And
Mhm.
so our elders were saying, when we talk to our children, we talk to them sweetly. We are always calm around them. We're never arguing around them. It's
Right.
always like, as you mentioned, kind of like a safe space. And it really struck me
Uh-huh.
because I think what you're talking about here, we don't really have in America a whole lot of the time.
Oh, no.
Do you feel that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. Um, Here's an example. I think the last information I heard was in the United States, it was you don't let your child sleep with you. You get them their own room and a crib. And no. In other countries, the child slept with their parents until they were 11, sometimes
Yeah.
8 on average. And it was their safe space. It was their safe space. And, and I think it's exactly true. The nervous system is wired completely by how the parents, I mean, that's their model, that's their role model, that's the person that they see. Okay, that's how you interact with another. Okay, if they don't see a positive, hopefully they have a friend, mentor, or it's a double-edged sword. I've seen children be able to connect with other adolescents in the same situation. Hey, what does your parent do when, and what do you think? And, they can see there's others out there like them. So they can see, oh, okay, no, okay, that's not right. I need to talk to a counselor. And school counselors, once again, have stepped up. They've had to. Um, Crisis hotlines. I think what the Veterans Crisis Hotline was stopped for a while there. And these things are they're so important to
Yeah.
have a kid to be able to reach out. Big Brothers, Boys and Girls Club, a trusted community center.
Yeah, I was going to mention that word community.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on the part of like early child rearing and communal sleeping, I have a flat spot on the back of my head because my parents followed the advice of like, swaddle him and put him on its back and like leave him
Oh,
alone. And so like
yeah.
I literally as a kid, like I can feel it right now. I've got a flat spot because
Yep.
the child's head changes based on that position. Very interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about you noticing the generational patterns of the kids are in
Mhm.
juvie because their parents have things. It's not just about healing ourselves. It's
Right.
also about preventing this trauma from passing to the next generation. It's like this
Correct.
domino
Yeah.
effect.
That's correct. Yes. I would see, and most often it was just something simple, like they've never had someone show them how to do a checkbook, how to do. They've always, this is how they were raised. This is how, like, no, when you go in a restaurant, you always take the salt and pepper shaker. Wait a minute. No, you're not supposed to do that. Well, my mom did, and her mom did, and then we got a collection of them. Oh, goodness. I'm just using that as an example. My mom did it, my grandma did it. I mean, that's how we are. That's us. I don't even know how many times I've heard that's that's how they are. That's how we are. That's how he is. No,
Mm.
that's how they become due to the environment or, you know, nature, nurture. There's a combination of things there.
What do you think went wrong in our culture that started this in the first place?
Wow, that's hard.
That's a big question. I know. Maybe it's not one. I'm sure it's multiple things, but like,
It is. Our inability to put ourselves in another's shoes, our lack of empathy, maybe, our our sense that, well, if they're not doing it our way, if they're not living life our way, then that's wrong. We got to show them better. That no, no. The lack of accepting another human being You don't want it, because I don't want a relationship with that kind of person because I've heard they're this, that, or the other. That's come on now. Just,
Kind of
I guess,
like a tribal mentality.
yeah, like they're not part of us. They're
Yeah.
not like, they're just, and we don't want to learn anything about them either because we know they're wrong anyway. You don't, to limit yourself, to not reach out and learn and meet and go and and you'd be surprised at how many ancient civilizations were very similar in the way they raised their children, in the way they hunted, the way they planted,
Yeah.
the way they lived. It was very similar. And at what point did we stop and say, okay, I got to be like them. They know what they're doing. They look like they know what they're doing. So I'm going to go try to fit in with them. Ugh. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you're right. It's a combination of things I guess not. To me, it would be, you have to have empathy for another living being, any living being, and animals, wildlife, my trees. We're all connected. We're all connected in a way. And to think that you're superior to any of it throws an imbalance, complete imbalance. We don't care for each other. We don't care for our wildlife. We don't care for our earth. And they're in revolt, all of us, people, wildlife, and the earth. We're
Mhm.
given such gifts, and to abuse them, well, and think that nothing is going to come if you don't respect what we were given, then how can we be surprised when it's taken away?
Yeah. The Morui people would describe that as disorder. So
Yes.
we had this conversation last night, and I was asking them about the difference between masculine and feminine energies and how their tribe viewed it.
Hmm.
And they described to me the structure of how they train their children, how they interact as partners. And then he sort of stopped and circled back and he said, "This is really, really, really important. Like the family unit, the I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but the family unit and the structure of how we
Hmm.
stick to that within our culture, because otherwise disorder slips in, and when disorder slips in, we become sick."
Sickness. That's correct. That's exactly it. You know, a widow, I would use that as an example in indigenous cultures. I've learned a widow, okay, we all need to step up and make sure her children are taken care of. She's taken care of. That's not someone we leave behind. Or someone that's contrary. Um, I had heard, where they don't want to marry. They don't want the role of a woman. They want to hunt. They're a woman that wants to hunt, or a hunter that wants to sew. That was special because you walked both worlds. We could learn a lot from this person because they, once again, can see through the eyes of the others.
Yeah.
Everyone. Male and female.
Well, back to your main point of empathy. The thought just struck me when I studied evolution and the history of our species. I think it's commonly agreed that you can basically track the development of the first modern humans by the fact that they started taking care of their wounded.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that if that's like the initiation of modern humans, I wonder if we could track the decline and the end of modern humans by the death of empathy.
That would
That's
be
an
an
interesting point I've
interesting
never thought
study.
about.
Yeah. Yes. I would love to listen to thoughts on that because it seems, yeah, once we don't care, it's not our business. That's not, doesn't involve us, but we're all connected and it certainly does involve us. So that
Yes,
would be an interesting study.
you and I obviously both agree we're all connected. I think a lot of the people that will eventually watch this will also feel that as well. So we have this knowledge, we're all connected, but yet we isolate ourselves, and there's this breakdown in community.
Mhm.
Is that seems like a factor that is impacting the current mental health crisis? In
Yeah.
your work over the decades, has it been getting worse over time or better, or has there been a trend?
I have been retired for a while. Excuse me. Um, but it, I think it's a trend that runs hot and just, up and down and up and down. Um, my daughter in sociology, she noticed, different parts of the country, different changes in the economy, different changes in even their government, completely. Did I veer off track of that question? Because
It's okay.
the empathy we have, I don't, yeah, I must have veered off there. Yeah, I'm stuck on empathy too. Uh,
That's totally fine. Yeah, there's nowhere we have to push this conversation. So if you find yourself wanting to walk down a particular path, walk it,
I
and I'm
think
right there
in
with you.
my experience, when you isolate yourself like I did, um, you then you can't give more to society. You can't use your experiences to help others walk that path or get through that. Um, Isolation, I think, is getting worse now. Yeah. Uh, People are trying to buy up 10, 20 acres and buy us and then just order a monthly supply of food. And nope, I don't want to see anybody, not even the mailman, because they don't trust the disappointment they've seen, the lack of humanity. It can you down, break you down. And then when you isolate yourself, I think we do ourselves wrong. I did it myself. Because the the lack of another human connection is so important. I mean, it can make or break you. So to isolate yourself, and because I don't want to meet anybody, good or bad, I don't want to take the chance again, is what the
Mhm.
thought is. But no, you're going to do yourself more harm. You're gonna walk between you and anyone, good or bad. I think walking through it and learning to ourselves and how we respond. But to isolate yourself, gosh, if you do, hopefully it's with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, we use this phrase in the healing and sometimes the spiritual community of you can't fill anyone else's cup if your own isn't full.
That's
We
correct.
have to fill our
Yeah,
own cups first.
right,
Are you
right.
open to talking about why and when you left the mental health industry and how you isolated yourself?
Sure. Well, my grandson was born in 2015. My daughter wasn't in a very good place. She had gone through some domestic abuse. She had decided to side and stay with the abusive partner. So CPS stepped in, and so he's been with me since he was born. And he didn't have any effects from anything they had done wrong or ingested. There was no drugs or things involved. This was just plain violence. But he's been tested. He's 11 now, of course, and he's ADHD, um, Tourette, and an autism that they're not sure where to begin. His social skills are so low, but he's reading at a junior, a 10th, 11th grade. His brain is working so fast that it's strange to see. I mean, he's a blessing. He's brought so much joy and the ability to look through his eyes. Yeah,
Mm.
that has helped me to see, hey, we don't have to do it that way. We can do it that his way. It's the same end result. It's just a different view of how to get there. And he's like that with everything. He's smart, but cannot socialize with another person very well. He can't. put a face on his emotions, and then he'll let his emotions run his behavior. Anger or frustration is strange to him. He doesn't understand. So to work through it and walk through it, but to see eyes through it, any child is a blessing because you see and appreciate the simplicity of so many things. But
Are you familiar with the work of Gabor Mate?
Mate sounds familiar, but I've been out of the loop.
He's
I will look it up.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to some of his books. He's a Canadian physician and author, and he's also done a lot of work with plant medicines. But one of his most influential works on me, actually my wife is reading it right now, I read it a couple times, is a book called Scattered Minds, which is about the origins of ADHD itself, because I feel that the medical community doesn't really actually know like why it happens.
No.
I'll tell you his theory, and I'd love to hear if this resonates with you or not. His theory is a child goes through trauma, and the traditional responses we've been taught, I think it used to be just flight or freeze, right? And then they added a third one, which I think is fawn.
Was it fight?
Well, it's fight or fly, and
Fight
I
or
think
flight?
it's freeze as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it was either fight or flight. Those like the two original. So he proposes an additional one, which is the idea of escape, like mentally, because a kid can't fight or fly. And so he suggests that during traumatic experiences, their brain just goes somewhere else.
Yes.
And which may lead to that development. It's a really interesting book. I'd be curious to see what you think on it if you ever get around to reading it.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I agree completely with that. You just shut down. You just shut that door. Nope, that's too much for me to handle. Yeah. Wow. I'd love to read that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it over. Well, when you're several decades into this mental health work, were you still working when your grandson was born?
Yes, I was working as a case manager in about 20 minutes away from home. And he was born where I had to go get him was 2 hours away. And I worked with, at that point, those were substance abuse clients who had to come to me and complete a certain amount of hours for their either probation, parole, something, to go towards. And it was a nice group. I really, really liked them. I loved my clients. They worked hard. And I made sure they got credit for it because that seemed to be the paperwork lost in the mail, excuse that they would get and not get their housing or their. So it was tough to leave, but my supervisor would say, hey, you got to do what you got to do for your family comes first. So I did retire, but I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, that was the impetus early. And why I asked this was because I wasn't sure. You had mentioned isolating yourself a couple of times, and I didn't know if it was you got overwhelmed with carrying the burden for those people for those many years, or if it was something else. So it sounds like the initial.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I see. It was his birth, and what I did have to go through, once again, I got to see the other side of the system with a client that had to go through CPS and things like that, and the devastation it caused the family. I could see that. But also the frustration with administration in mental health, the frustration with the lack of individuals that were trained in and just, hey, there are other ways around this. It doesn't have to be so rigid. Don't put fear in your clients that, hey, you better do this or else. Hey, let's work so that you can avoid this situation. I think I got more frustrated with the mental health administration, the state and federal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I was a young Army officer. I graduated West Point and served in the Army. Some of us grow hair and take a lot of
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you so much. They would. I think they'd be very disappointed at me now, a hippie living in the jungle, long hair, beard, and lots of psychedelics. But just don't tell them. Hopefully, they never see this or anything else I put out ever. Anyway, so as a young Army officer, I had gotten injured. I had frozen off a toe and a half in Alaska. I had really, really bad frostbite, nearly lost half my foot, eventually lost like a toe and a half. And so I
Oh,
was in the process of being medically retired.
uh-huh.
And during this time, I also became estranged from my family of origin. My mother, father, and at least one of my siblings are extremely conservative in their religious views, and I didn't fit that bill, so they kicked me out of the family. So
Oh,
all this was kind of happening at once. It was not a good time in my life, if you can imagine.
no, no.
And I'm joking about all the horrible things that are going wrong to one of my friends in my office one day, and this little psychologist, Bill Winters, changed my life. That guy. He stopped at my door and he said, "Hey, Lieutenant Schneider, I hear a lot of pain in that voice and in that
Mhm,
joke. How about we
mhm.
talk?" And I was like, what are you talking about, man? I don't need a shrink." He's like, "I don't really prefer that word. Let's talk anyway." And this very patient, very wonderful man and I talked for about 2 to 4 hours a day on average for 6 months.
Oh,
It was wonderful. It
yeah.
was a part of a very special program the military was trying to do to help soldiers with PTSD. They called them
Mm,
military family life consultants. They basically just hired a bunch of psychologists and then put them in the units. And so Bill Winters had an office
cool.
across the hall from me.
Yeah.
And so Bill had to eventually leave. Okay. And this is
Mhm,
where I can very much understand your frustration with the mental health system because I went
mhm.
over, I was like, man, this is great. Like I'm starting to really understand my life. I want to talk to
And
more of these guys. So I went to the mental health administration at the Army on base.
right.
And I
Okay.
said, I would like to talk to a psychologist. And they're like, well, why? Like,
What?
are you planning to harm yourself or someone else? I
Oh,
said,
man.
no, that's not the point. Like I just, talked to one of your guys, for 6 months. Oh, that's another program and we can't help you. Come back
Oh,
if you're
wow.
suicidal or if you want to murder someone.
So they
But they
didn't even
turned me
replace.
away.
Oh, wow. My God.
Yeah. So I think that's probably maybe
Well,
an example
yeah.
in my lived experience of what you were talking about with the lack of flexibility. It's like,
Mhm,
isn't that kind of missing the point?
mhm. Yeah. Or even accountability, you know? Mm, that's terrible.
What's the antidote to this? How can we, if we don't want to accept the fact that there are severe mental struggles and veterans with challenges and people and children and families that need help, what can we do about it?
Not think that there's an answer or give up. There's always some way. But the community is most, I would think, important. Don't give up ever. Don't think that what you're doing is becomes so frustrating like me to where you just give up, which is probably, part of why I isolated myself. The inability to help anyone anymore. But you do if you don't give up. Just keep going.
Mm,
The community, I would think, is most important to have a community that could back you and keep you safe, make sure you're okay, check on you.
yeah, it works both ways. I mean, you mentioned accountability, and I think that's actually extremely important. I use the analogy of like, let's just say you're taking a walk in New York City, and somebody is walking past you, and you just slap them in the face, right?
Ah, yeah.
It's it's such a big city. You're probably never going to run into that guy or anybody he knows again, right? But if you're in a community of say 100 people, you're not going to live that down for a little while.
No, no. Why'd you
So
do
it's
that?
like
Yeah, we don't do that here. That kind of
exactly.
stuff. It's
There's a
exactly. Yeah.
it's compassionate accountability and this idea of there are in a community lived examples of a life well lived, which is why the indigenous resonated with me so much because
Yeah.
they're not standing on
Communal.
the street. Yeah, they're not
Mhm.
standing on the street corner like holding up a sign saying, "Hey, convert to our
Hey,
religion." They're just like
no.
they're just living their lives.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and they all contribute. It's like somebody knows carpentry, somebody knows gardening, somebody, hey, can you watch my kids? I trust you because you're part of my community. That
exactly.
kind of thing. I remember as a kid, my aunt would say, go down there and borrow a cup of sugar or a loaf of bread because she owes me a chicken. I lent her a chicken, and she knows what to give you. Just go down there, or something like that, where they would trade services. Oh, uncle, he went down there and fixed her plumbing, so she sent us a cake. Go get it. That kind of thing. That
Yeah.
commune to make sure each other's taken care of. It's
Yeah, there's
serious.
I mean, this does still happen in other places in the world. I'm assuming
Mhm.
some very small American towns might be like this, but I
Oh,
live
sure. Yes.
on the outskirts of a very small town on the edge of the jungle here in Colombia. And the other day, my power went out.
Hmm.
Only my
Oh,
power, not the neighbor's power. And so I was like, hey, because it's literally right across the street. Hey, man, can you throw me an extension cord so I could power my refrigerator? Sure, no
yes,
problem.
right.
And like you get the eggs from the guy next door. And my wife was traveling to Medellin a couple days ago,
Hmm.
and she got into this town center to access the bus and the ATM to get money. There's one ATM in town, and it was
Hmm.
broken. And then there's a application on our phones that we can use to transfer money, and that was also broken at the time.
Oh,
And so she's got no access to her money, and she needs to catch the bus because she's got to get to her job. She's a physician and also a lecturer at a local university.
panic. Oh,
Yeah,
panic.
panic, right? And so she talks to the bus driver, and the bus driver's like, "Well, when are you coming back?" She's like, "I'll be back tomorrow." It's like, "All right,
Oh,
well, just pay me when you get back tomorrow." And she
oh,
was like
see,
completely flabbergasted. She's like, "That would never happen in a big city." And I
that's
think
terrible.
that's kind of like
That's
community in action.
And here, this small community that I live in, it's old. It's old time, and it's very Catholic, and it's very communal. Christmas baskets. Anyone need a list of a family that might need a Christmas basket? Please turn it in. Our local churches, things like that. But,
Mm.
I'm going to walk over here to probably charge my phone because I was not prepared for this.
No worries at all. Hopefully the macaw is not going to attack us
Yeah,
with obscenities.
I think he's taking a nap. He is old. What is he? They live to be 100. My daughter's primed and ready to take over for me because he's going to outlive me. Oh, but I love my community because they make sure. There was a time when strangers or outsiders come in and they want to change for the better. You people don't know what you're missing. We're going to show you, and then it always goes wrong. But the community is there to pick each other up and make sure everybody's taken care of. It's
Mm.
kind of neat. That is what you shoot for. That is ancient. That is ancestry at its
Yeah.
best.
That's why we called our community the Ancestral School. And
Yeah.
what we're doing here over time is I really resonate with what you're saying. The
Hmm.
ancient ways of community and family rearing and connection, we've lost that. And that's what
We
we're
have.
trying to bring back.
Yeah. I do a lot of on ancestry because I wanted to find out if it was true, and we were native. I wanted to find out. My mother has black hair and brown eyes. She's very native looking. And then you see me, the Scotsman. And that's what I found out, the migration, the changes, the little odds and ends throughout my mother's house, the stitchings on bed sheets is Romani.
Mm.
Wow. So, and then the oh my, don't you come in that door and go out the back. That's just bad luck. And don't you dare put a hat on a bed. Well,
Yep.
that's old time too. That's some Appalachia. That's some Missouri. That's some ancestry. It's ancestry that got them through mentally or physically tough times. We need to learn. We need to learn. We need to listen to our elders. Every chance I got, I would try to listen to John Trudell and his words. I mean, he's passed in 2012, and an activist, and and they would strike a chord with me. And as a kid, when I read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I cried for weeks. These things we need to learn from our ancestors so we don't make the same mistakes. But if you stand on the top of a mountain and scream that, we're making the same mistake. They think you're crazy.
Mm.
We're not here to prove ourselves right, but to just hold the light for others walking down that path because we know it's there. We know you can't get away from it. So hold the light for someone else walking down it. That's that feeling of being able to help another, to pay it forward when maybe there was no, like I told you, remember, I take in all these rescues
Hmm.
because as a child, maybe I felt there was no one there to rescue me. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that was as I mentioned to you yesterday. That's a lot of what happens in a sort of a smaller time frame within ceremony.
right.
People often in psychedelic or sort of these sort of plant medicine ceremonies will often go and hug someone else, but what they
Yeah,
actually need is a hug themselves. It's like sometimes
right.
we offer to others, and I did
Project.
the same thing. I did the same thing. Like the initial origin of this idea of community and family was something that I desperately needed as a child and
Right,
young man and didn't
right,
ever have.
right.
And so, yeah, I think what you were talking about is like this idea of standing on a rooftop and saying, "Hey, we got to change things." That's one way of doing it. The way that I'm doing it is saying, "Hey, are you lonely, or isolated, or feeling lost? There are people here that are ready to help. The door's open and the fire's lit." So bringing
Yes,
people in with what they're being attracted to, as opposed to making them feel that everything is wrong around them, I think is something that's working.
that's right.
Well, what are some major influences or teachers in your life? If someone's watching this and they really resonate with what you're saying as I do, what threads can we start to pull? What sort of people can we research or books that we can read so that we can understand more of the way that you think and the lessons that you want to give?
Wow. Wow. Walking the red road. Um, See, this is my daughter's forte. Uh, she would say, you know, as I would say, learning from different views. Gosh, most of the books I remember reading were Sounder when I was a child. Mary McLeod Bethune. Um, uh, just about people that should have been understood and accepted, but weren't, just based on ignorance, on the society's ignorance. So they were ostracized, cast out, or that's them and we're us and them, the us and them, always the us and them. That the books that I read, I think I could never watch Bambi. I couldn't go I would cry. They'd have to take me out. I couldn't watch these things that were so heavy hearted on your heart, to lose a dog, to lose a child, to lose something. Once again, that's my path. I darkness that I need to walk through and get not get over, but understand that my behavior is based on that imprint that my parents left on my nervous system, as you have said. And so the books that I were, Jaws, things that were okay, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna be prepared. But you can't live like that. Be prepared, be prepared. The books, were mostly indigenous. Uh, I know why.
Hmm.
Oh, the cage bird. I know why the cage bird sing Maya Angelou. Just to learn about another culture, how they walk through hard times, to learn from other cultures. because we're
Yeah.
we're connected, all of us. And how did they get through that? And how did my grandmother just give birth to a stillborn child and then get back up and go finish picking cotton?
Mm.
What did you grieve? Did you have a moment? Did you? No, no. That was life. That was hard. That was harsh. Um, wow. How did you do that? How? We just got to learn. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we overthink, but I do know we don't learn from our ancestors. We don't. We need
Mhm.
to listen. And if they're still here, holy cow, get to them, write it down, record it. These are
Yeah.
times that our grandchildren will never understand. Like my grandson says, "You had a cord on the phone connected to the wall?" Yeah, I did. Those things, that's kind of the thing,
I mean,
what
technically,
did
you
you
still have a cord attached to your phone.
I do now because my battery's done. But it's true. And the things that they walk through, like, uh, the 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 plagues, the Spanish flu, these little, um, things that during sickness is a perfect time to understand, to learn from another group of especially indigenous people what they did in sickness. In my area, if a child has a runny nose, oh, are you sniffling? Do you have a cough? Get get the Vicks, put it on the sock, put it on the thing, put the thing, get the liver and onions, sauteing
Mhm.
right now, put that in a cheesecloth and put that on the child's chest. We don't want any croup. Little things like that. Man, some of these old timers, willow bark, of course, we know now. Aspirin,
Mhm.
things like that. You learn from herbs. I've tried my hardest and I'm still learning because um, with my system, my physical system, I can't wear products. I can't wear, it's terrible. Deodorant, makeup, things like that. Any chemical now greatly affects me. So I have to go all herbal. I have no choice.
Mhm.
The most I take is an ibuprofen, and I have to be pretty darn bad. But when I was diagnosed with the neuro things that are going on with me, they told me, the RSO or the THC, the higher the better. And that's when I did start seeing the clients that were doing better were also using Charlotte's Web and things like that for the seizures. And I could see how they were using CBD with dogs and things like that. So I took their advice and my system got better, more in check. Uh, I've lost like 100 pounds since that time that I got off all pharmaceuticals and began to, no, I don't even eat processed foods. And when I do, I feel it.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy and thankful and blessed that I can drink the water from my tap. I can, but I can see how, hey, are, we need to take care of our earth too. We can't just keep taking and then not
Yeah.
give back and not take care. So I guess all of that came down on me in 2015.
Mm.
All of that. And then when I just finally said, hey, I'm going to be me. I'm going to live my life the way I want to. I'm not going to rely on things that I had in the past. I'm going to learn to do this myself. I'm going to live more Ayurvedic. I'm going to do more of my plants, my herbs, my pine, my, you know, nettle and things like that for my arthritis. I'm going to use those creams and I benefit from them better, more so. And so that not only physical, because your gut and your brain are completely, in my mind, connected.
Correct.
If one's out, the other, and it's true, imbalance in the body brings on sickness.
Yeah.
Imbalance in a community brings that in sickness. It's all connected.
I couldn't agree with you more. The Wiwa elders would say that the root of all humanity's problems is because we're not taking care of the earth. And so it goes back
Mhm.
to what you were talking about. We're not respecting the things around us, so we don't respect
That's
our
correct.
children, we don't respect our parents, we don't respect our community, and so on.
Uh-uh. That's
I'm I'm
correct.
I'm also walking the red road myself. I'm a moon dancer. I've done 3 vision quests. I'll be doing my 4th this year. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm also connecting to that route as well. And one last thing that I wanted to mention, because you mentioned you had Romani backgrounds and some of their
Yeah.
traditions, like don't leave a hat, or don't come in this door or the other door. There's another great book called The Immortality Key by Brian Murcheski, I think that's his name, and he's looking at the origin of Christianity and the church,
Oh,
and
yeah.
why the persecution of what we would call now the witches happened,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
is what I did my own genealogical research, and I'm half Irish and half German. That's Druidic territory, and so
Yes.
I actually became a card carrying member of the Druidic Society. I'm at level 1, the Bard,
What?
which is appropriate, by the way,
What?
because I'm a guitar player. Th- that was that as I started on the Red Road, I was introduced by a friend to it, and that same friend sent me a quote from an elder in the north. I forget what his name is. Let me see if I can search it up. Learn our traditions, but learn yours first. Let's see if I can't find it within a 10-second Google search. Okay. I think it was Chief Littlebird. I'm not sure. Anyway, it said, "Hey,
Ah,
everyone is welcome to come learn our traditions," referring to the Red Road.
mhm.
But go make peace with your own ancestry and traditions first,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of us have isolated ourselves so far removed from our own spirituality,
Mhm.
our own
Yeah.
culture, and our own traditions. And the thing
Yeah.
about one of these educational pieces that we're doing is educating and changing the cultural frame around how witches are perceived. It's Those were the healers, the medicine women, the
Yes.
women that knew how to put the onions and liver on the chest. And to people back then, it
Childbirth.
sure looked like spiritual, like witchcraft. Sure,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The parteras, the
Especially if you were
doulas,
single. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I think that all of this is kind of circling back when you said, we need to listen to our elders, we need to record them. I can't agree with you more.
Yeah.
That is why we're doing this, because we're losing them.
Yes.
These traditions are mostly passed orally. It used to
Yes.
be grandmother to daughter to you get the idea, father to son, mother to daughter,
Mm.
passed through family lines, and that's what we're doing. We're recording those conversations. We're recording this conversation because you also are an elder, and we need to
Me.
respect our own elders
Really?
as well.
I'm honored. Like, I just, I don't feel I have much to say. And I'm worried that I would say the wrong thing to guide someone in the wrong direction. But I can say this, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. Um, and I am honored to be able to speak and share anything and everything. I've done a lot. Um, and my family's yeah, when I learned in Ancestry of all the connects and all the sides and all the strangeness and just the social decline. So when you say, yeah, where did lose the empathy? Yeah, it was long ago, I think.
You know, I I see your story a little bit differently than you might. I see a woman who was motivated to help people and had an entire career doing that. And at the end of the day, realized that you needed to take care of yourself and your own family, and you made that your priority. And I think that's not only incredibly brave, but also incredibly right and true. I mean, look at your own journey. You went into plant medicines, you lost weight, you healed yourself through nature,
Mhm,
you took care of your grandson, and by
mhm,
extension, your daughter and your other family members. Like, that's wonderful. And I think
mhm.
that that's an example that exactly what this podcast is meant to do.
Yeah.
So
Well,
for
you've
people on
helped
the
me see that. After I spoke with you, I thought about these things. I thought, yeah, wow, yeah. And I spoke with my daughter, and she goes, "Mom, most people haven't seen that kind of thing. That's not something you would normally go through." And to me, it was like, well, that's just everyday life. That was part of it. to, yeah. But she says, "No, you should share that, and he's right." And so she says, "Hey, Scotty, thank
Oh,
you."
hello. Well, it's my
But
absolute pleasure.
and I
There's
I I am honored to whatever I can say or do, I would answer any question, anything. And so I'm so glad to speak with you today and get that honor
likewise.
as an elder. Wow,
It was
thank
an
you.
honor to speak with you and learn more about your story. And whenever you feel the desire to come on again, if you want to dig into other topics, I'm happy to do that. If your daughter wants to come on, let me know. We're here
Would
to
love
build.
to.
Yeah, like we're here to
Yeah,
build this community, and your presence is a grounding force. And I think that just like your daughter mentioned, sometimes we lose perspectives of the magic of our own story. And I
right.
think that the indigenous would say the position of an elder is to train the next generation. And that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
including you. So thank you so much for doing that.
Well, thank you, Scotty. I had so much fun today. I'm sorry my phone's probably gonna die,
No
but
worries. No worries at all. Well, it was an
thank you.
absolute pleasure. And I'll see you very, very shortly. And I'll post this in the group. Thank you so much for being active and for posting and commenting and liking it. It really, really helps new people that come in feel the cohesiveness and the warmth that this is at its core. And if there's anything
It
that I can
is.
do to help this be more effective for you, more valuable, more useful, please let me know.
I will. Thank you so much, my heart. I'm so glad to be a part of this group. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.